It was the year 2000. Miraculously, none of us had been killed by the Y2K bug, which was going to give the bank machine sentience and bring about the age of Skynet or something. In any case, I was in the 5th grade when I heard that there was going to be a sequel generation to Red and Blue called Gold and Silver. This is while Pokemania was still in full swing for many of us. Sure, there were a few kids that were losing interest in the series, moving on to other things, but I sure wasn't there yet. I was still into the card game, the TV show. Heck, I remember wanting to play Super Smash Bros. Because Pikachu was in it. Not that I was ever any good with Pikachu. Go Link! So what was new? What was left from the first games? Would this be a worthy successor, or would this start the massive decline in Pokemon fans? Well, I got Silver version for Christmas that year, and plugged it in to find out. Pokemon Gold and Silver were initially showcased at the 1999 Nintendo Space World Expo in Japan. It was originally supposed to take off in 1998, but the relatively small production team already had their hands full with Pokemon Stadium, plus dealing with the changes for the American release of Red and Blue. So instead we got Pokemon Yellow version at that time. Now before we go on, I know many of you are going to be wondering what I thought of Yellow version, and it was okay, I guess. I'll admit that when I was younger, I was stoked to be playing an adventure more along the line of Ash's from the Pokemon anime, but as I've grown older, that concept has kind of become more and more stale. But back to Gold and Silver. One of the first things that kids knew about it was that there were going to be a ton of new Pokemon, around 100. They were still based on childhood experiences of the creators, like Japanese mythology and manga, much like bug collecting was the inspiration for the first generation. There were a bunch of new elements added in as well. Firstly, Dark and Steel types were added. Dark mainly to balance out the somewhat overpowered Psychic types. Alakazam! There was breeding, which we'll get to in a minute, and a larger variety of Pokeballs, including custom ones made depending on what apricots you've collected. One aspect left over from Yellow was the idea of the relationship you had with your Pokemon. If your Pokemon got hurt or lost battles a lot, he would like you less and less. But if you gave him items, took care of him, and battled successfully, he or she would like you more and more. Some big ones that I remember making the game better included changes to the bag, which before had been one unorganized sack and was now divided into sections, which made getting to the item you wanted so much easier. The game also came with an internal clock, which kept track of whether it was daytime or nighttime. Many Pokemon would appear only during the day, and many would appear only during the night. It was a lot of fun staying up late at the first opportunity just to hunt that nighttime ghost, though I'll admit a couple of times I just went in and changed the game clock to make it easier. You also got a set of items called the Pokegear, which included things like your map, a radio, and a cell phone from which you would get calls from people like... Oh, sorry. Hello?
My Rattata is in the top percent of Rattatas.
Ooh. What?
Remember my super cool Rattata?
Okay, I'm kind of in the middle of something.
But my Rattata is...
Goodbye. That was weird. But that's not to imply that your cell phone didn't have other unfortunate ramifications. After all, most often you'll get calls from your mother, who will do one of two things. A, she will tell you how much money you've saved up, or B, she will tell you how she went out and spent your money on stuff that you neither wanted nor needed. Honestly, I always just assumed that she was lying to cover up where the real missing money went.
Oh, sorry, honey. Ooh, Ricardo, work it. I spent some of your money. I'm sorry. Don't worry, though. It was on a Pokédoll. Yeah, that. Now, I gotta go, honey. Ricardo, pot roast is in the oven.
My God. The story of Gold and Silver isn't that terribly different than what it was in Red and Blue. First you're sent off to get a package for the town professor, and then you're given a Pokedex and you start your wonderful journey. The difference is that this parcel is an egg, and that it may be a clue to figuring out just how Pokemon breed. No, they had no idea how Pokemon bred. They had professors who had dedicated their entire lives to discovering the anatomy of Pokemon, and they're just now figuring out that Pokemon lay eggs. Which brings me to breeding, probably the most fundamental aspect of Pokemon that was brought with the games. I know that there are things like egg types, and you can theoretically breed better and stronger Pokemon, but I didn't care about that then and I care less about it now. To me, it just meant that you can make copies of Pokemon legitimately. The problem comes from the fact that it's a huge blow to the universe's continuity. First off, how are the people at the daycare center completely perplexed how your male and female Pokemon who have been alone together at the daycare center suddenly have an egg? Can they just not put it together? Do you think they're equally perplexed as to how babies are made? Hey honey, how'd that baby get there?
I was pregnant for 9 months, you dumbass!
What a miracle! Also, Kangaskhan. How is it born with a baby already in a pouch? Doesn't that kind of ruin the notion that it comes from an egg? Or Execute, for that matter. Isn't that a bunch of eggs coming out of one egg? Even Pokemon specifically said to be man-made apparently come from eggs? It just makes no sense. I'm fine with breeding being a part of the game, it makes sense in the continuity of the universe, but this execution of it just makes no sense. Anyway, the story is basically the same. Fight gym leaders, get badges, fight Pokemon League, become champion, beat Team Rocket on the way. There's a bit of a... Hello?
This Rattata is awesome. I mean, you don't even know.
Okay, Rattata is awesome. Do you have anything else to talk about? Yes?
This Rattata is in the top
I'm done.
percentage of...
As I was saying, there's some variation in the types used by gym leaders this time. They won't all specifically use one kind of Pokemon, which in many ways makes it more challenging. You can't just get one Pokemon with type advantage and absolutely wreck your opponent. But there is one. One that will test your patience to the utmost degree. One that will make you question where you are in your life, the universe, and how any loving God could let it come into existence. I speak, of course, of... Miltank! If there is one thing that will stick with you from playing these games, it's fighting Miltank at a gym. You won't even remember which gym leader it was, which town it was in, or which badge it was for. All you will remember is Rage. This thing does one move, and that's spamming rollout over and over, which does more and more damage each time until your party just gets steamrolled. I invented new swears fighting this thing in Heart Gold, and it was no easier in the original. If there was one thing to be said for the structural integrity of the Game Boy, it was that it could withstand all of the Miltank-induced rage that you could take out on it, which to me puts it on par with adamantium. But disregarding that thing, as somebody who first played Red and Blue, I thought this was a great sequel. It expanded on the original universe, and it felt so much bigger, especially when you got to go back to the old region and see all the familiar faces from Red and Blue. There are a lot of pieces of fan art that depict the battle between Gold and Red, yes, that's their names, and while in reality that may not be exactly what it was intended to look like, that's what it felt like to us. It was an epic trip to be fighting the character you trained to be the Pokemon champion in the last generation, in a place that you once caught the strongest of Pokemon ever. It felt like it decided the fate of the world. So yeah, it was great, but it wasn't really my first Pokemon game. So, give it up for someone a little younger when Bad Movies Attacks Josh Hodgetts to tell us what it was like when he first played the games.
Pokemon Gold? How does anybody not remember that? I got that game the same day I got my very first handheld console, a Game Boy Color. And to be honest, recently I haven't been playing many of the newer games, but I still play all the old ones. Believe it or not, Gold actually wasn't the very first Pokemon game I ever played. That has to go to Green. That's because my cousin had got one previously, and well, he liked me to go and train his Pokemon up. At a younger age, I never really got the concepts of strengths and weaknesses. It was more of the, wow, that person did a lot of damage to me for some reason. I bet he's a strong Pokemon. Now I look back, I can't believe how thick I was, but what can you do? Nowadays, all you have to do is collect one of every flavour, and there you go. You breeze through the game, no problem. But one thing that does cause a bit of controversy amongst me and my friends is your starting Pokemon. Nowadays, I always choose the grass Pokemon because, well, poison and sleep is fucking amazing. And on top of that, when your rival chooses fire, all you have to do is find a water Pokemon and you can destroy him in one hit. Things though, there was actually 3 things that pissed me off with that game. Now, I'm not saying the game's not bad because I fucking love that game, but 1, this twat. 2, reloading my saves over and over again to catch Ho-Ho. I don't know how you guys say it in America, but I call it Oh-Ho. Oh, whatever, the fucking bird. Yeah, but after 3 days of me reloading and loading the stats, I finally caught it, only to realise it was a bit of a letdown. And 3rd, probably the most upsetting, is that when I was young, I dropped or sat on my Game Boy Color, I don't know which, and it kind of fucked the cartridge up. It wouldn't register saves, and I lost all my Pokemon. It was a sad day. But luckily I had something around about the same time to cheer me up. God, I love this fucking film. So there was a little UK insight of Pokemon Gold. Now Mike, you don't know about this, but yeah, you're going to have to review this with me. Can you read that? It says Iron Hero. I'll give you a guess what that rips off. But yeah, I'm Josh. Go and check my videos. Oh, did I just plug? Whatever. I don't have a sign off, so go away.
And that's where we'll leave things from here. I really liked Gold and Silver. They were totally worthy successors to Red and Blue. In fact, I might have even liked them better if it wasn't for nostalgic value. So, do our next generations continue the trend of getting better and better? We'll talk about that. Hello?
Really? I mean, top percentage.
Wait, is this Joey from Jamiroquai.blogspot.com?
What? No, it's totally not. Yeah,
What's going on, Joey?
I'm really bored.
Great. 1 second. I'll see you next time. Well, I mean, you just did your Castlevania review. Don't you have anything else to be playing?
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide.
Sorry, doing the Leonidas roar kind of gives me a tickle in my throat. The ah sound. And I believe that wraps it up for today.